These are the images that Saudi Arabia does not want you to see. The youngest victims of a near famine that threatens the lives of almost 7 million people. Baby Ahmed is just 10 months old. The nurse says he would be dead in 2 days if he hadn't come for treatment. But many Yemenis can't afford to get to a hospital. In a dusty camp for those displaced by more than 2 years of grinding civil war, our team met Khalfan Hamza. His 10-month-old son, Akram, has been malnourished for months. I cannot take him to the city because there's no money, he says. We're hoping any aid group will come see us and help us, but no one has come. We await God's fate. Access to the victims of this man-made famine has been drastically restricted. In recent months, CNN has found that the Saudi Arabia-led coalition is deliberately blocking journalists and human rights workers from visiting the hardest-hit areas. The air, land, and sea blockade imposed by Riyadh and its partners has brought basic services to a grinding halt. Deteriorating conditions are being blamed for a vicious cholera outbreak, with more than 1,100 deaths in a matter of months, according to the World Health Organization. For 25-year-old medic Rana Saeed Farah, the days have become a blur. Like so many hospitals, hers is short-staffed and under-equipped. How old is she? She asks. Is she throwing up? The little girl Isra has been brought in by her parents. She is the third of their children to fall ill. I'm scared, of course, her father Ali says. Your children are your world.
We wish we finish this epidemic, this disaster. We want to finish this disaster. Patients are dying one by one. They will die at any time. We couldn't do anything for them.
Pleas for help appear to have fallen on deaf ears. President Trump's recent trip to Riyadh and the announcement of a massive weapons deal was seen by many to embolden the kingdom, leaving Yemen's conflict for now a silent war.
Now, I should say we reached out to the Saudi ambassador to the United Nations, and he told CNN in a statement the following. We assure you that Saudi Arabia does not exercise any kind of censorship. Many news reporters and UN personnel have been granted access to Yemen. The Yemeni government and not the Saudi-led coalition usually process visa approvals. We have raised the issue to our capital. Well, we're still joined now by Ali Shihabi. Ali, I just wanted to ask, you saw the report there. What's your reaction to the idea that the Saudi-led coalition and the Hadi government of Yemen has been blocking access to international media and human rights workers?
You see, the problem with your report, Clarissa, is that you did not specify the specific locations of the pictures. Now, there's multiple civil wars and multiple conflicts taking place across Yemen. And the major port where food and medical supplies come in is controlled by the Iranian-supported Houthi militia. And the Saudi government has been calling for months for the United Nations to take control of that port, to supervise it, for the specific reason that food and medical supplies have been taken over by the Houthi militias and used as a weapon of war to starve. For example, the city of Taiz in Yemen, which is one of the worst hit, is one that is suffering a blockade by the Houthis, so that the Saudi government has been saying, we want the United Nations to come in, we want the United Nations to control that port, we want to have transparency in the supply of medical equipment and food, and that has not been happening. At the end of the day, Saudi Arabia is the only country that will be left worrying about Yemen when the Yemen war goes out of fashion and NGOs and the media go on to the next new conflict. Yemen is stuck to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has over 1 million Yemeni immigrants and refugees living in the country. It has 300,000 Yemenis in school in Saudi Arabia at government expense. So the issue that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would want to inflict human punishment on Yemen just beggars belief. It does not make sense. The Saudi government has been making huge efforts. Of course, war causes a lot of disruption. And civil war causes more disruption because you have an element of criminality coming into it. So various Yemeni organizations take over food supplies and take over medical supplies and sell them in the black market. So it's a very complex problem that your little clip there showed simply as being a result of big bad Saudi Arabia. And frankly, that's very unfair and it's not correct.
Well, my little clip was the result of an extensive investigation, and you still haven't answered the question as to why or whether the Saudi-led coalition is blocking international media from getting to Sana'a. And I should say to our viewers that most of the video footage that you saw in that report is from in and around Sana'a, which is the capital in the north of the country. A UN official, a UN humanitarian worker, has told CNN in no uncertain terms that the people preventing journalists and human rights workers from getting into Sana'a and these hard-hit areas are the Saudi-led coalition and the Hadi government of Yemen.
Well, there are two things the issue with Sana'a. First of all, Sana'a is controlled by the Houthis. Having said that, a number of foreign reporters and representatives of NGOs and think tanks have been to Sana'a recently. So there have been flights going into Sana'a, there have been UN flights going into Sana'a, and a lot of the members of the media have been able to piggyback on those flights. So I take a bit of exception to the fact that the Saudi coalition does not control Sana'a, and that there are
No, but they
UN
control
flights.
the airspace over Sana'a.
Yes, but there are United Nations flights going in where members of the media have been over the past few months using to access Sana'a.
And those flights have been told they are not allowed to take any international journalists.
Well, that hasn't happened because, for example, there was a member of the International Crisis Group that just wrote a report on her visit to Sana'a, and she went in with the United Nations on a United Nations flight. So now, having said that, also Sana'a is not a neutral location, because when you go to Sana'a, you are received by the Houthi public relations machine. They take you where they want to take you. They give you their narrative. They give you their story. So you don't get exposed to an independent. You have no way to independently verify events, and that's what happens. And obviously, pictures of human suffering are very moving and emotional, and people get affected by it. But you really need to do a lot of due diligence to see exactly where, how, why. And for example, Sana'a is not one of the cities that is suffering from famine. So I'm surprised that you say these pictures are on Sana'a, because Sana'a is not one of the cities suffering from famine. But in fact, the main city suffering from famine, Ta'iz, is being surrounded by the Houthis, who are not letting food supply. Ta'iz is not being applied, is not allowing food and medical supplies to come in. So
just very quickly, how do you think the new Crown Prince will endeavor to resolve or deal with the crisis in Yemen?
The crisis in Yemen began because a civil war and internal dynamics were taken advantage of by the Iranians. Members of the press and think tank community have been saying for years that Iran has not been involved in Yemen, until the Iranians themselves admitted that they were involved in Yemen. So that caused Saudi Arabia and the coalition to react, to try to interdict the flow of weapons, and to try to send a message to the Houthis that they will not allow them to become allies of Iran. I always give the analogy that if Mexico in the Cold War if elements of Mexico had reached out to the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union had started to help a local militia in Mexico work against the United States, reaction in America would have been very similar to Saudi Arabia today. So it's a complex issue, and it really can't be reduced to a soundbite or to a selective, display of pictures, which are really very disturbing to everybody concerned, but an unfortunate byproduct of war.
Okay. Thank you. Listen, thank you very much for your perspective. That's why we wanted to have you on the show. We're grateful for it. Ali Shihabi, thank you so much.